Greetings, YouTube. Today we're going to talk about a water bottle, specifically this Nathan water bottle right here. Now, I am fanatical about staying hydrated, and one of my favorite uh, physical sensations is cold water. I love cold water. So, I freeze my water bottles. I fill them up in the cooler weather, a third, halfway maybe, in the warmer weather, three-quarters of the way. And I freeze them in the freezer, and then I fill them up with water. And as the water melts, it's nice and cold, especially once it gets to the top. When it's at the bottom like this, it is difficult to get the water to be cold. You have to always create a current. But once it gets to the top, it creates its own convection current, stays nice and cold. But doing this to a bottle puts a lot of stress on the plastic, and they will eventually split on you. Sometimes very subtly. I had one that was just this tiny little crack right around the little nub here at the bottom. You couldn't even see it. It was so tiny, but it was definitely leaking. And sometimes spectacularly, they'll just blow off. Like an entire bottom will come off when I take it out of the freezer. So yeah, sometimes it's quite spectacular. But because of that, I go through 2 or 3 of these things a year, so I'm always on the hunt for more Nalgene bottles. This is an official Nalgene bottle, though it's branded for the Consigli, some kind of company. I don't know. I bought it at a thrift shop. And I usually pay between $1 or $2 for a Nalgene bottle, either yard sales, estate sales, or thrift shops. Mostly often thrift shops. Well, while hunting for more replacement, because I always have 2 going. One's in the freezer right now, and that one's here. And then I have a couple of spares in the cabinet. But I had 3 spares, and I was down one, so I went looking for another one, because I'm always in the hunt for them. And I found this, so I thought I'd give it a try, because it's the same size as that, but it has a slightly different configuration and construction. So whereas that had just a standard cap that you've probably seen 100 times, this has a smaller cap. It's translucent, which doesn't really bring anything to the party. And it has an offset nozzle, which is smaller, and it is covered in a rubber, which is flexible. So there's a hard plastic under here, but on top of that, there is a coating of a rubber, and it's not an overly pleasant mouthfeel, I discovered. And it is a smaller size, so it's more nipple-like than just drinking out of it, which is also not quite as pleasant. Now, it being offset is actually kind of makes sense, because if you have an offset item, you pour from you put the offset on the top, and that way you'll get air here, and you'll get less glugging. If you've ever seen a 5-gallon bucket, the spigot is always offset. You pour with that on the top. Most people don't know that. You pull the nozzle out, you pick the bucket up, and you tip it so that offset is on the top, and you won't get glug, 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 glug. When I've shown this to people in person, they're always amazed. I pour a lot of 5-gallon buckets in my day. So that's kind of useful. I kind of like that feature. And you can get the entire top off without having to worry about Nalgene, the lid is attached. And if you use a large Nalgene, it's the same thing if the lid is attached. This, you can get the entire thing off, which is also not necessarily a bad thing. The inside is all hard plastic. The coating is on the top and on that right there. But I just didn't like the way it felt. I didn't like the size opening. So this is a bit of a fail. At least I tried it. Like I said, I paid $2 for it. So it's just going to go back to a thrift shop. I only used it for a couple of weeks, so I didn't damage the plastic at all. It is BPA free, which is nice, and it is type 7 recycling, and it is dishwasher safe, which is also very useful. I always wash these stuff. I don't have a dishwasher, so I'm the dishwasher right here. In fact, that's why I don't have my rings on. I just finished washing dishes and forgot to put them back on. So I can't say I like the Nalgene water balls. Just didn't do it for me. I'm going to stick with my Nalgene Nathan water bottles. Rather, I'm going to stick with my Nalgene. That's kind of a confusing thing to say, Nathan and Nalgene. I have liked some of Nathan's flashlights. Their signal lights and things. I think they're very good quality. So I can test that the company does produce good quality stuff. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to produce every single item the same way. And there will be people out there who absolutely love having a smaller nozzle that has got a rubbery bit and is offset. That will be the perfect thing. They love it far better than they like the Nalgene, which has that larger spigot in the center of the bottle. not for me. So didn't like the Nathan bottle much. I'm glad I'm sticking with the Nalgene, and I'm glad I probably will never have to say those two words so darn close together again.